let's get started with this sucker today. Hopefully gonna do some more mix down and master it and see what happens. First things first, I'm gonna drop a reference track in here. But it doesn't like my reference track. Oh, well, that's not fun. Okay, so we'll just put one in there. Let's try it this way. Huh. There you go. You better like my reference track. Freaking Ableton. I don't know why it doesn't let me pull stuff from the desktop. I have to go through the Ableton browser. Shouts out to anyone that got up this early to hang out with me. I appreciate it. Okay, there we go. We'll drop that in. It's completely slammed and crushed, which means it's a perfect reference track, right? Okay, we'll chop that up later and use it. But for now, I'm going to take a look at my busing. I'm going to see where we're at with that. You're still echoing. Shouldn't be. Let me check some things. Oh, yeah, 1 second. Let's try that. Nope, no E in Wh1tcomb. Okay. Okay, perfect. No more echo. Good. So we're gonna check these buses. We're gonna see what I stuck in. Absolutely nothing here actually. Mental energy. Of mental. But I do want something on there. Let's get an EQ on there so I can see what's going on. Mental energy. Of mental. Okay, and then I have different kick samples and snare samples in here. That snare's almost poking out too much. This guy. Yeah, okay. Which one's where's the transient that's poking out on this? Okay, it's here. So let's calm that down a little bit. Okay, now let's see how that fits. What's up, Heretic? How's it going? Yeah, that's better. That's calmer. But almost not what I'm looking for, to be honest. It's almost too calm now. We'll work with it. Okay, let's see what else we have going on. You're awake for once. You've tuned in here before, so you've woken up for this. Yeah, I think you're right. The snare is kind of thick. But, oh, that's why it's so loud. But, you know what? Instead of making it thinner, I'm just going to process it a little more like that. EQ it. That's a little better. Okay. Okay, and then there's other, you want to kick behind the snare usually with some hi-hats, I think. Yeah, the hi-hat's coming later. Here. Okay, and then I switch up the drums here. Okay, and I'll work with that. Let's check a look at the aux percussion now. So if you're just tuning in, pretty much what we have here is last time I mixed and mastered where I was mostly mixing and doing some gain staging on my track. So now I'm just finalizing everything, checking the buses, make sure they're fitting well. Then I'm going to be processing all my buses with some New York style compression, and then we'll bounce it down and master it. Yeah, dude, totally. Hop into FL Production Hangout. I could almost use some more boost in this high. Make them even crispier. Let's get rid of lows on this because of that. Yeah, I recently adjusted the mic volume and everything, so it should be better for you guys. I'm glad to hear that it is. Okay, subs. Put an EQ on that sucker before the glue compressor. There we get some popping on it. I'm fine with a little bit of popping, but too much is not a good thing. We'll do that. So I'm gonna be a little lazy. I really don't want to. There's definitely popping in there. I don't want to go through the process of cutting that out. So I'll just work with it. Some clicking in it. First, let's save. I'm gonna call this sucker pre-master. yeah, getting original vocals for a track. Um, unless you record them yourself. I mean, my best solutions have always been going sample digging at splice.com. I have a membership, and that's where I get most of my luck from. Sorry, I gotta shut one thing off, or else it's gonna keep beeping. And their splice. Yes, Fiverr is actually that's a really good way to do it. Because then you're not getting it from sample packs, and you can go process it yourself. You could also go cop them from YouTube videos, and process them and chop them up and whatnot. Go away, Splice. I don't want you right now. Come on. Whatever. I guess we'll work with it until it decides it wants to go away. There's some like slap back reverb on that that's actually not sounding too great. But can I deal with it? Let's see. Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't bother me too much after thinking about it a little bit more. Okay. Okay, make sure I'm cutting out the lows on this since I already have a sub channel. Oh yeah, forgot to do that. So let's see. Actually, I might have already done it. So something I was seeing on a Dead Mouse thing the other day is when when he's using buses or when he's using any sorts of bits and pulling them together, like I have the drop sum and everything's being summed in. All these bass bits are being summed into that. He slaps a limiter on that bus and doesn't do anything with the gain, but just sets a ceiling so that they're more uniform. So I did that here, but let's see if I need to adjust that ceiling. Nah, probably at 9 would be fine. Okay, what else do I have left here? Vocals, let's see where those are at.
Both physical and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and he must have skill in both physical. That reverb's a little too washed out for my taste. Let's take that down. In both physical and mental activities, he's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has.
It might be the dimension expander that's making it feel weird.
He must have skill in both physical and mental.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average.
Yeah, cool.
He must have skill in both physical and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has a friendly attitude and outgoing personality. This is a common method of self-protection.
And there's some low still hidden in here, so let's get rid of that because I don't want it in this.
Skill in both physical
Some sub.
and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has a friendly attitude and outgoing personality. This is a common method of self-protection. He must have skill in both physical and mental activities.
I could probably use some gain on
He
here.
must have skill in both physical and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has a friendly attitude and outgoing personality. This is a common method of self-protection. He must have skill in both physical and mental activities.
I maybe boost it a little more, so 3.5.
He must have skill in both physical and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has a friendly...
And I think I'm going to put a ceiling on this, just since it's a vocal, and I don't want it to pop over anything, so let's do a 10 dB ceiling with the limiter.
He must have skill in both physical and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has a friendly attitude and outgoing personality. This is a common method of self-protection. He must have skill in both physical...
Let's do it before.
He must have skill in both physical and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has a friendly attitude and outgoing personality. This is a common method of self-protection. He must have skill in both physical and mental activities.
Yeah, that'll help. So, so we'll do this ceiling on it. And so -10, and let's do a glue compressor too.
He must have skill in both physical and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has a friendly attitude and outgoing personality.
Okay.
This is a common method of self-protection.
Okay,
He must
so
have skill in both physical and mental activities. He's usually slightly bigger or stronger than the average, and has a friendly attitude and outgoing personality. This is a common method of...
okay, that's working. So yeah, like Heretic mentioned, the vocals were peaking. So so I put a limiter on it without any gain, just a ceiling so it doesn't hop over that, and then put a glue compressor over that just to kind of tickle it and make sure there's nothing's popping or peaking too much. Okay, now let's check the other place that I have the vocals at.
There are spurts of mental energy as well as physical, and at other times, nothing seems to be happening. Mental, physical. There are spurts of mental energy as well as physical, and at other times, nothing seems to be happening. Mental, physical.
I'm a motherfucking ninja.
He must have skill in both physical and mental.
So I think this vocal might be a little louder than the other one. Let's see.
There are spurts of mental energy.
They're about the same. Okay, effects, probably won't need to do too much to these. EQ 8.
Mental.
You know what I could do with these? I could push them to the outside a little bit. There's some very minimal rumbles that I could get rid of too. I'm seeing there. Okay, so then let's use utility. and we're gonna push them, just push them to the outside a little bit. So we'll do a width of 125.
As well as physical, and another mental energy.
I'm a motherfucking ninja.
Okay, yeah, that makes them sparkle a little more. Textures, let's see, I could probably push this to the outside too. Yeah.
There are spurts of mental energy as well as physical, and at other times, nothing seems to be happening. Mental, physical. There are spurts of mental energy as well as physical, and at other times,
I'm going to save this because that just bogged down loading an EQ8, so I think it's my computer's getting a little taxed.
there are spurts of mental energy. There are
Is there even anything in that range? Yeah, there's a little bit. Okay, we're going to push this outside a little bit too. Make it more stereo.
There are spurts of mental energy as well as physical, and at other times, nothing seems to be happening. Mental.
Okay, so before I go in, actually, you know what? Yeah, I think I'll start doing my New York compression now. Yeah, 8-bit could. Let's see. Yeah, I'm digging the 8-bit, but then when you said 8-bit, I wondered if 8-bit on the vocals would sound cool.
There are spurts of mental energy as well as.
Nah, I think it would just make it complicated, so I'm gonna stick away with that. I'm not gonna go with that. Okay, so New York compression. Yeah, here comes the dubstep disco. When you just solo the drums, it's, you know, it's time to get your dancing shoes on. Disco ball starts in the background. It's a little cheesy without the basses coming in. Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Okay, so let's see if I like what's going on here. First, I'll explain what I have going on in my compression rack. So I have 4 separate strips in it. I have dry, which is just, you know, the dry signal. Then within the low, I have an auto filter pulling out the lows. You can control it here with the low frequency. And then I have a compressor after this. So compression, which pretty much is applying some nasty compression to it so I can get some nice parallel low end. And then same with the mid here and the highs. Now that point's all controlled by this frequency. The compressor output is tied into all 3 compressors' outputs. Low boost, this is just controlling the volumes in here. And when it's down to 0, it turns off. So let's see, this is at -10. So if we pull this down, it cuts it off. And then this just adjusts all 3 compressors between peak, RMS, and expansion modes. Okay, so now that we know how that works, let's utilize it to make these drums way more huger. Or I might have already actually done that. Yeah, okay, so. Oh, yeah, I already did that. So it's subtle, but it's there. It definitely adds to the punch. Adds to the snap, adds to the thump, just a little bit. So now let's use that same tool, and I'll actually go through the process if I'm going to do it with the basses now. Or maybe I'll do it with the sub, because that's what's next. And actually, you know, before I do that, let's see where the drums peak at. Okay, we're getting like -10, somewhat around that. Okay, so on this drum bus, let's do a little bit of glue compression. Let's do it before. Let's see. Where do I want it? Before or after? Okay, because if I do it before, it's after. It's gonna be compressing. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do it after, because I'm just looking to, you know, consolidate everything. There we go. Maybe even less of that. Okay, and then we'll set a limiter, and we'll set the ceiling. The PWM mixed with FM modulation. Yeah, that's quite a unique, some unique waveforms to work with. And when you're doing FM too, was that on? Were you doing that on Serum? Okay, now let's work on the subs. Now I could do another EQ on this, but I already did the EQ on the other sub bus, so not really worth it. That's a pretty intensive bass. Okay, so I'm gonna really have to adjust the ratios on this. So here's my low. Let's make this like 50. I can't go that low. So I need to go and adjust my mapping on this. 100. Let's make it 30. Great. Okay, the mid nothing's gonna be there, so we're gonna make this like 100. Oh, yeah, I need to adjust this as well now. Not a lot there. And then we're going to turn the high off completely. I could probably pull that down. And honestly, I don't know if I want the New York compression on the sub. Let's see if we take it off. Nah. Okay, but I'm definitely gonna want it on these mids and basses. Okay, let's see. Where's a good piece for this? So let's tune this up to like 300 maybe. Maybe 200. Okay, and let's check out the mid. This could be more around that like 500 range. And I'm gonna crank that up to maybe 4,000. Okay, so let's play with these. Definitely, let's set this at like 30. Hey, what's up, Mellow Joshua? Long time no see. I believe you were checking out the last stream. Negative 25. I think I'd add more of that. And that should do it. Okay, now let's adjust this reference track. Turn it down. And then save. I haven't used Cubase before. I've just used Ableton and what is it? Sony Essence Studio. That's all I've used. Whoa, the vocals are peaking. There we go. That should be better. Okay, so plugins, effects, mastering, RMS Buddy. Okay, great. We're gonna toss this RMS Buddy on the master, so I can make sure the reference track is a similar RMS.
What the fuck? They know what is what they know what is what they don't know what is what, they just strut. What the fuck? They just.
So we're at like a negative 10 RMS. It's likely my track's not even close to that right now. So let's bring this down even more.
What the fuck? They just.
Okay, so now we're at like -19. Okay, let's see what mine's at. Yeah, I actually was right here. It's just this is mastered and sounds way better than my track does, but that's because it's totally pro. Okay, so yeah, we could use that as a reference. RMS is about the same. Well, I'll leave that on. It's fine. Okay, now I gotta chop this up to make it fit, make the pieces fit my track. Okay, so we'll start this off like that. Oh, and this is warped. We don't want that. Yeah, Mellow Joshua, what questions do you have on Ableton? Any general questions, or are you just curious to see how it works?
Mental energy.
Okay, and then we'll play that again.
Mental. Spurts of mental.
Okay, and I believe there's a part in the track that has a similar vibe to my breakdown. Yeah, there we go.
They don't know what is what.
Yeah, let me place this really quick, and then I'll do a quick summary of what's going on in Ableton. Okay, so save set. Okay, so the big thing with Ableton is the session. I believe one of them's the session and one of them's the tracks. I can never remember the exact naming, but is the that you have two views. That's the big thing about Ableton. We have this view, which you can use to launch clips of tracks. So you could put tracks in these pieces. So let's see if you let's solo that. So here's one piece of the mids and the basses. Okay, mine's not set up like that. But ideally what you're doing here is you could drop in clips, and when you would have all those clips play at the same time. So let's say this whole piece would be your intro, and then this whole piece would be your build, etc. That's one way you can use this, and that's how I think a lot of people choose to use this this view. Now, I use this view as a mixer, and I mainly work off of this linear, this time view. But so I'm stuck on this time view, and I'm arranging everything in this manner where I'm doing it on the timeline, and then I use this, which people usually use to group their intro, build, drop, etc. I use it as a mixer, so whenever you're playing, I can go and I can check my levels.
Other times, nothing seems to be happening. Mental.
Now, a lot of people like this view, especially when you're doing live when you're doing live mixing and whatever in Ableton, because then you could assign all these different settings and these different pieces of, let's say, your aux percussion to different MIDI pads, so you can mess around with your track. And I think deadmau5 does stuff like that, and I think maybe Bass Nectar too. Okay, so then pretty much when I'm making a track, all I do is I set up a new bar here. I click on here to make a piece, and then I click and drag it over into the timeline view. Okay, let's see what are other important things about Ableton. Yeah, over here you have your window that allows you to view different samples and whatever. You could connect samples to them. This is a way more intensive project than what I usually have going on. I mean, this is a way more intensive than what Ableton looks like I think Ableton starts with 2 audio tracks and 2 MIDI tracks. I've taken that and I've done some bussing and grouping. So within Ableton, you can group once. So you can create a bunch of clips. I'll show you. And this is similar in other softwares too, but so you can create a bunch of clips, whether they're audio or MIDI, doesn't matter. So right now I have 3 here, and then you can group them together, which is what I've done with a lot of my other buses. And this is creating a bus. All these 4 audio tracks now wrote into this group 72. But the key thing is you can only do that once. So my workaround usually is to, we'll call this like a sub bus, not like sub bass, but as in it's a bus before this group bus. And then you can route audio to it. So I would have to go here and I would have to route it to this sub bus, which if set into the right setting, I can then put into the group track. The other big thing that people always talk about with Ableton is the stretching and time warping and whatever. So let's play around with that. Let's get a sample. Yeah, trap. That just generic trap sample. There we go. Let's do a synth chords. This might be loud, warning. Actually, let's do this Melodyne loops. Cool. Okay. So here's what I was talking about. Yeah, dude, Heretic, I totally feel you. Some days when I'm doing this production stream, it's just early and I just can't think. That's why I have to take notes towards the end of it. I start waking up and take notes for the next day, because if I don't have them, I won't know what the heck to do. Okay, so right now this is warp. So if I unwarp it, this is the actual tempo of the track but it already read the BPM, and it read the BPM, and you could see here all the tick marks. It said, okay, here's where I think all the beats are, and it came up with a BPM that's 164, which is right on key. It's the 82, and then it stretched it accordingly. Now with Ableton, you have a bunch of different modes you can use. So beats is what it usually starts out with, which usually isn't exactly what you want. But there's also tones. Allows you to adjust the grain size, texture. So, complex and complex play are usually what I use. They're most intensive, and they usually make it sound the best without destroying the audio too bad. Okay, but one of the best parts of Ableton, let's go back to texture. And its modes are its ability to group stuff, stretch it, whenever. So we're going to take this first hit and we're going to tell it, hey, there's a piece, here's another piece. And so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to warp it. So I'm going to, oh, if it wants me to. There we go. So I could stretch the heck out of that. It might sound even better if I go to something like, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that's probably the biggest thing with Ableton, and other softwares probably have caught up. Other DAWs have probably caught up with this sense. But there's just a quick rundown on Ableton. Let me know if you have any more specific questions. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing here. Let's get that reference track back to where it was.
What is what they don't know what is what. They just
Experts of mental energy as well as physical. And at other times, they're experts of mental energy.
There's probably a build in here somewhere.
They know what is what they
Yeah, that's almost perfect.
what they just what the fuck. Fuck what they know, they don't know what is what. Fuck, they just strut.
Okay, so we're going to copy that.
You must have skill in both physical.
Okay, and then we'll copy this.
What they don't know what is what.
You must have skill in both physical and mental activities. These usually
Didn't copy it. Oh, we go.
What is what they don't know what is. What they don't know what is what. Know what is.
I think there's a build somewhere in here.
Know what is what they don't know what is what. They just know what is what they don't know what is what. They just what the fuck.
you must have skill in both physical.
And then we'll do the same.
You must have skill.
What the fuck?
As well as physical. But as first,
Okay, and then intro again.
you must have skill.
What know what is what they don't know what is what. They just
Okay, that'll do it. We're gonna turn all this reference track down though. Let's group it. So this will give me an idea of how everything is meshing mix-wise. And then I guess I guess on Monday, I guess I'll be doing some mastering on it. I didn't think my mix down would take that long. So yeah, I guess Monday I'll be doing some mastering with some mastering plugins. At least my attempt at it. I don't claim to be any good at mastering, but I at least know some basics. Okay, so
Other times, nothing seems to be happening. Mental.
yeah, this could probably go down by, I don't know, like maybe like 15. Cool. So we're gonna A/B it. So here is my track.
We know what is what.
So I could already tell it's crispier. It's got more space than my track.
What?
Mental energy. Mental energy.
Okay, so that's the initial impression. Now I'm gonna think of everything. So let's start with the kick and the snare.
Is what?
So more stereo. So and I could definitely use some more stereo in my snare some. So what I'm gonna do to make that happen? Where is it? I'm gonna use a plugin. Panning. That's not the right one. An EQ, yes, MSED. Voxingo, this Voxingo plugin called MSED. So here's my sides. I'm gonna increase them by, let's say, like 1 dB.
Mental energy.
And he's also got a low pass filter on it, or not a low pass. What is it? I don't, some sort of filter. Right? Too tired to think. And he has a white noise hit that I could actually probably utilize that idea to let mine kind of mesh in better. Wow, that sounds like crap. Who knew it was on Beats mode? Okay, so let's add, I guess I don't have any good downers. Let's get one. I think there's some in here. Let's do white noise. Downlifter. That'll work. We'll just cut it and turn it down a lot. 20. Okay, let's move on.
They don't know what is what. They just what the fuck?
And at other times, nothing seems to be happening. Mental.
A lot more stereo.
Fuck. They know what is what, but they don't know what is what.
And at other times, nothing seems to be happening. Mental.
But I'm not concerned because I'll push my track into the stereo a little bit when I'm mastering.
Don't know what is.
Okay, so but that's key to know that I'm gonna have to do that. So let's make a note that I'm gonna want that. Okay, is there any other blatant?
There are spurts of mental
Where's the drop?
energy.
I might be able to put it in a bigger or in more of a reverb room. So mids and basses. Let's see, is there any reverb on that? There is, but let's use a little more. Let's toss one on the bus. Give it more space.
I'm a motherfucking ninja.
And these mids and basses could use more. Okay, and then how about the sub? I'm gonna have to plug in my monitors for this, so you're gonna hear some duplication or some echoing. Wow, still clipping on the mic, huh? So I've talked about this technique before. I don't have big monitors, so I am going to use my hands to feel the cones and feel the vibrations, and then I'm going to compare that. I'm gonna compare that to what I hear in my reference track.
What the fuck?
Well, I think another key thing I'm finding out, or listening to at least, is that my tracks are these tracks are definitely different tracks. But his sub has it seems like his sub has more, above like the 100 hertz, more, transients, and mine could use a boost there too. So let's add an AQ. So let's add some more unique pieces here. And then we're gonna bring us down by a little bit.
I'm a motherfucking ninja.
Cool. Ah, you're back. Welcome back, Heretic.
I'm a motherfucking ninja.
And one of the things I'm noticing is that a lot of stuff I'm like, oh, the track seems better, and that's always a trick with referencing, is that it's sometimes a little deflating. But one thing I am liking about my track better is that the drums kick through and the drums punch through more. They're more dubsteppy, which is what I want anyway. So
I'm a motherfucking ninja.
like these drums are kind of weak, but I think that's the intention of them. And I think that's all I have. Yeah, so we'll save this and I'll do some mastering on it next time. Upcoming Monday, 6:30 to 7:30 Central Standard Time. And yeah, I feel you there, Heretic. Sometimes it's important to force a process. Other times it's just kind of like, if it's not working, go do something else musical and make a bass or something, and then, or risers. But yeah, if you're forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do, it doesn't always just turn out too well. But yeah, I'll be back 6:30 to 7:30 on Monday Central Standard Time. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys stopping in, saying hi, and I will hopefully see you guys on Monday. Have a nice weekend.